Hello students, uh, we'll start this first class on structural analysis 2. In the first class we'll discuss regarding introduction to force and displacement methods of structural analysis. These two methods uh, includes your slow deflection method, moment distribution method, Cannis method, flexibility matrix method, and stiffness matrix method. So it will cover nearly 2.5 modules based on these two methods, force and displacement method of structural analysis. Now, before going to this structural analysis, detailing of this force and displacement method, you have already studied this analysis of determinate structures in structural analysis 1, where you have done this calculation of shear force bending diagrams, then deflection analysis of trusses, beams, then 3-inch arches, 3-inch stiffening girder with cables. So the basic question that is being asked that what is the difference between statically determinate and statically indeterminate structures. So let's give some idea before going to all these things, statically determinate and statically indeterminate. So you already know that we have three equations that is equation of equilibrium available. So if you can take this equation of equilibriums, what are the equation of equilibriums? The equation of equilibriums are sigma V is equal to 0, sigma M is equal to 0, and sigma H is equal to 0. So these are the three conditions of equilibriums being used in the analysis of determinate structures. So because we have three equations, so maximum three unknowns can be solved. So if the number of unknowns in a problem is more than three, then that becomes statically indeterminate structures. Let give an example that if you have a beam, if you take a beam, the beam is one side is roller supported and other side is hinge supported. Now, whether it will be statically determinate or statically indeterminate. Now, if you analyze this, now because there is a roller, so there will be one reactions, vertical reaction, and here will be one vertical reaction and one horizontal reaction for case of hinge condition. So you have been studied what is a hinge support, what is a simple support, what is a fixed support, what is a cantilever beam, what is a simple support beam. So all the types has already covered in analysis 1. So I will just recapitulate the things here. Here, in this beam condition, you have three unknowns. So we have three equations. So this becomes statically determinate structure. Now, let's come to a cantilever beam. In the cantilever beam, whether it's statically determinate or statically indeterminate. Now, this if you draw the free body diagram of this beam, then what the free body diagram? Now, this support is replaced by the reactions. So, what are the reactions? So, the reaction will be this vertical reaction, horizontal reaction, and a movement. So, this fixed support is replaced by these three reactions. So, it is statically determinate. Three unknowns, again, three equations from equilibrium equation. So, this is statically determinate. Now, if you come for a propped cantilever, now in this propped cantilever, here is a fixed support and here is a roller support. So, you can take a roller support at this end and which is replaced by this vertical reaction. If you draw its free body diagram, what is its free body diagram? The free body diagram will be like this. The fixed end will be replaced by a vertical reaction and the horizontal reaction and a moment, and here you will get a vertical reaction. Now the number of unknowns is 4 here, and you have 3 equations. So this is statically indeterminate to degree 1. 1 degree of static indeterminacy. Now let us give another example. Now if you take this, one side is fixed, right, and other side also fixed. Both ends are fixed. So now it is also statically indeterminate. To what degree? Because you will have 3 reactions at this fixed end, and also 3 reactions at this fixed end. Now 3 plus 3, so becomes 6. You have the 6 unknowns. Now we have 3 equations. So this is static indeterminacy here will be equal to 3. So it is indeterminate up to 3 degrees. 3 unknowns will come here. Let us go for a continuous beam. So you have a like, suppose you have a continuous beam like this. This is simple supported, right? And this is also simply supported. Here it is also simply supported, and now here it is fixed. Now what is the static indeterminacy? Here will be one reaction, here will be one reaction, here will be one reaction, vertical reaction here, vertical reaction here, vertical reaction here, and here will be 3 unknowns. So 3 again 6. So the degree of indeterminacy is equal to. So this is how you will find out whether the any structure, it is not only beam, you can take the case of a truss, you can take in case of a arch, you can take in case of a cable, you can take any kind of structures like frames in a multi-story building. So by seeing the structure, you try to find out the free body diagram, see the number of reactions, and what is the number of unknowns reactions, and what is the number of available equations. So from these you can find out there are no static indeterminacy. This is static externally indeterminate. There also will be statically indeterminate internal members. In case of truss, you'll find internal members you're not able to solve. We will discuss while discussing these problems on this process. We'll discuss regarding that statically indeterminate process, that is internally indeterminate and also externally indeterminate. Externally indeterminate means that the reactions not able to find the reactions due to applied loads, and internally means if the members are not satisfying these conditions of the truss, then that also will be statically indeterminate. Now, these indeterminate structures are being widely used for its obvious merit. There are some merits, moment resisting, and there are other things. Bending moment will be less, so you have to require less sections. If you put simply supported beam and a fixed beam, so the moment will be less. As you know, for a suppose you will put a UDL on a fixed beam. If you put a UDL on a fixed beam, what is the value of this? Suppose you will take a simply supported beam with UDL. What is the maximum bending moment? The bending moment is equal to WL square by 8, right? So the bending moment is equal to WL square by 8. If you will take a same thing as a fixed beam with UDL, you have also studied the fixed beam in your analysis in analysis 1. So if you draw this diagram, it will be like this. Okay, WL square by 12, and here we'll find out this value is coming WL square by 24. So now this value reduces to WL square by 24, and the maximum negative moment will come is WL square by 12. So we see the value has been changed, WL square 8 to WL square 12. So the advantage of indeterminate structures are there. If you look continuous beams, then they have also some advantages, reducing bending moments. Once the bending moment reduces, the design, the section requirement also will be less. So they have their merits, obvious reasons. So in case of indeterminate structures, either the reactions or the internal forces cannot be determined from the equation of static alone. That I have discussed just that if you take indeterminate structures, so what are the unknowns? There will be either the reactions are unknowns or there will be some internal forces which cannot be uh, found out by using the equation of static alone. When we are talking about using equation of statics means alone means there is no compatibility condition. There is other things will come as compatibility. Only equation of equilibrium means there will be three equations like algebraic sum of the vertical forces at a section is equal to 0, algebraic sum of horizontal forces is equal to 0, and moment at any point in the plane is sigma m, algebraic sum of the moments will be equal to 0. So by using the three equations, statics, you can find out the three unknowns. If it is more than that, then it becomes statically indeterminate. So in such structures, the number of reactions or the number of internal force exceeds the number of static equilibrium equations that we have already discussed. That three equations, if unknowns are more like 4, 5, 6, 7, then you subtract this number of unknowns minus the number of equilibrium equations, and that will find the static indeterminacy of the structure. Now then how to solve this statically indeterminate structure? Because you are not able to solve by using the equation of equilibrium. So then you have to take the help of the compatibility equations. Okay. Compatibility equations are evaluated to find unknown reactions and internal forces in statically indeterminate structures. Now clear? Compatibility can be any point you can take compatibility. Let me give me a very simple example for compatibility condition that you have been studied in the structure analysis 1. So let it be a propped cantilever. Okay. So how calculate in case of propped cantilever? It is statically into 1 degree. What you do? If you there some loads, what you divide? So you divide this structure into a cantilever plus with UDL, so that is 1. So what you see the at this point the net deflection is equal to 0. So we find out what is the deflection at this point due to this load, what is the downward deflection at this point, and then what is the upward deflection due to this reaction. So that will be upward deflection this reaction. Now this deflection plus this deflection is equal to 0 or this deflection is equal to this deflection. So from this condition we found out this reaction value. So you have done this problem. So you can find out the WL4 by 8I is the deflection at this end, and due to this it is RLQ by 3I. So from this condition you can find out this value is come 3 by WL12. So this is one kind of compatibility. There will be different kind of compatibility at interface like strain compatibility, slope compatibility, or the moment from net side, because a continuous thing at a joint, the net moment must be equal to 0. Moment from this side plus moment that side must be joint moment must be equal to 0. So all these compatibility conditions will be considered for finding the unknowns in case of statically indeterminate structures. Now in the analysis of indeterminate structure, it is necessary to satisfy the equilibrium equations. That means the structure is in equilibrium. So the structure must be in equilibrium. Then compatible equation, that requirement required if for assuming the continuity of the structure without any break. That I was talking. So there will be the structure is continuous. So you have to find out the compatibility conditions to finding that. And then there are force displacement equations where in which displacement are related to force. Okay, so displacement are related to force. So these conditions must be satisfied in case of indeterminate structures. So you can take help of, or you can take advantage of these conditions like compatibility conditions, then force displacement relationships, or the equilibrium equations to calculate these indeterminate forces, whether you require the forces or you can require these slopes or deflections, all these things can be obtained. So basically there are two distinct methods available for statically indeterminate structure. So where the above equations, those we have discussed like equilibrium equations, compatibility equations, and force displacement relationships are satisfied. So you can say that two different methods. Basically, one is the force method, one is the displacement. So these are two methods which will mostly cover in your syllabus. If in module 1, in module 2 there is a Canis method. Then in module 4 you have the stiffness method and flexibility method. So all these methods comes under between these two categories. Either it is a force method analysis or it is a displacement method analysis. So it has been clearly divided along these lines. Now we'll discuss one by one what is a force method analysis, what is a displacement method of analysis. Now, in case of the force method of analysis, the primary unknowns are the forces. That means, suppose I will take a propped cantilever. So what I can say, there are four unknowns. One unknown I have to declare as the primary unknown. So the reaction, if I can find out the reaction at the propped end, then I can solve the problem. Are you getting my point? So what is the meaning of these primary unknown forces? Now, how we can solve this problem? Here there are three unknowns, and here is one. So four unknowns. If out of four or three unknowns can be solved by the equation of equilibrium conditions. So one unknown cannot be solved by equation of equilibrium. Now, if by any means I can find out these force, then the structure can be analyzed. Because the force is known, so we can analyze the structure. So this primary unknown I can take here is the force. This force is the primary unknown here. This reaction at the problem. So in this method, compatible equations are written for displacement and rotations. That means I have already discussed just before it. The deflection due to the load at this point is equal to deflection due to this vertical reaction. That is the compatibility criteria or force displacement equations, which are calculated by the force displacement relations. So displacement due to forces at this due to the applied loads. If some load is applied, so what is the downward deflection equal to the upward deflection due to the force. So the force displacement relations you can find out. Then by solving these equations, the redundant forces are calculated. So this force would consider the redundant force. That this force is not able to obtain by means of this equation of equilibrium. So that becomes a redundant force. So once the redundant force is calculated, then the remaining force can be evaluated by using the equation of equilibrium. Because once this force is known, there are three unknowns and you have the three equilibrium conditions. So we can find out this value. If we come to displacement method of analysis, in case of the displacement method of analysis, the primary unknowns are displacements. Now, let me explain what is this displacement. Now, suppose I will take this continuous beam. I will take a continuous beam. Let it be fixed here, and so let me take a two span bridges, and now we'll take. So this is your like this. Here the slope is 0 here, but here the slopes are it will take the slopes are unknown here. Okay, I will take these slopes are unknown here. So I can take theta here, theta is unknown here. So theta is the unknown. I can take another theta 2 is unknown here, theta 1, theta 2 are the unknowns. So the slopes are unknowns. Sometimes we can take displacement means you can take slopes as well as the displacements. Anything you can take as the unknowns. So the force displacement relationship are computed, and then the equations satisfy the equilibrium conditions. Once you write these equations, then you can come to joints. In this joint, this joint, the net bending moment is equal to 0, and this joint moment from this side is equal to moment from that side, or moment total moment is equal to 0. So we can find the joint equilibrium of the structure. So after so once you obtain the value of theta 1, theta 2, then the forces can be directly obtained by using the compatibility condition and the force displacement relationship. So the displacement based method is amenable to computer programming, and hence method is being widely used in the modern day of structural analysis. So out of this force method and this displacement method, the displacement method is widely accepted because it is easy to do calculations and you can make programming. The problem is the force method, or the force method of analysis. Which force you will declare as the unknown is also one point of discussion for calculation. You can declare out of 4 unknowns, any unknown can be declared as a redundant force. Okay. So according to that, if the method is not easy to calculate these value deflections, it will be cumbersome and it will take more time. So this method becomes better, that displacement method, than the force method to calculate the values. So here the main difference in force method, the forces are primary unknown are forces, and in displacement method the primary unknowns are displacement. In both cases we are using the force displacement relationships, but once the redundant force is obtained in case of this force method, then the problem can be solved. And in case of this displacement method, if you know the displacement values, then also you can solve the problems. Now we'll see that we have already discussed these two things. Let us discuss the difference between these force method and displacement method. Now I have also already told you what are the, now discuss the force method, what are the displacement methods. Under the force method, the method of consistent deformation that I have told in case of Prout cantilever, deflection downward is equal to deflection upward. That is a method of consistent deformation which we have already studied in structural analysis 1. So you have already solved the problem. Theorem least work, total work done is equal to 0. You can find a list of work, theorem least work. There's a column analogy method you have not studied, and you will study this flexibility matrix method. We'll discuss in the 4th module, is in the syllabus. So all these methods belong to the force method. The unknowns are the forces. And in displacement method, slope deflection method, moment distribution method, Canis method, stiffness matrix method, all these 4 methods we'll discuss in this analysis 2 part. And all these methods under the category of displacement method. So the indeterminacy in case of force method is static indeterminacy. In case of displacement method, it's called kinematic indeterminacy. So the indeterminacy are the slopes or the displacements. These are the unknowns in case of displacement method, and in force method is only force. So that is static indeterminate, it's kinetic indeterminate. Now let me an example that what do we mean by static indeterminacy and kinetic indeterminacy by giving a simple example. Let us take a fixed beam. Okay, fixed. Okay. Now in the fixed beam, we have seen it is statically indeterminate up to 3 degrees, but it is kinematically determinate. How? Kinetic determines there the theta is 0 and your slope is equal to 0, deflection 0 at the fixed end. So there is no indeterminacy, kinetic indeterminacy. But if you take a simply supported, then there will be simply supported beam is, or hinged here, simply supported beam is statically determinate but kinematically indeterminate, because here the slope is not known, here the slope is not known. So there will be 2 unknowns. Kinetic indeterminacy will be 2 here. Okay. So kinetic indeterminacy includes these unknowns of the where the slopes and deflections cannot be found out, and where the conditions slope and deflections are given, that is kinematically determined. So the example of this fixed beam, cantilever beam, so they are cantilever, Prout cantilever beam, they are statically indeterminate at the fixed end, but kinematically determined. Now the governing equation in case of force method is compatibility equations, but in case of this displacement method, it is the equilibrium equation. You can take at joints, the total moment is equal to 0, so equilibrium equations can be considered. But in case of your force method, it is a compatibility conditions. Okay. Now, force displacement relationship, if you try to represent in terms of matrix, that is called a flexibility matrix. And in case of displacement relationship, it becomes a stiffness matrix. So stiffness matrix is come under the displacement method, and the flexibility matrix comes under the force method. So categorically, you can write these equations. You know, the simultaneous equations can be written in a matrix format. If you read a matrix format, then in case of force method, it is called a flexibility matrix. And in case of the displacement method, the example is the stiffness matrix. So these two matrix methods will also be discussed in the module 4, while in the last classes of this structural analysis 2. Let us discuss what it says. All displacement methods follow the above general procedure. The slope deflection and moment distribution methods were extensively used for many years before the computer era, because when there is no high computing available, then people are going for this manual calculation. In manual calculations for the multi-story buildings, they are using slope deflection method, moment distribution method, or Cannis method to solve the equations. Once the computer comes, even if we only now using the only stiffness matrix method. Stiffness matrix method is a widely accepted or a numerical tool for calculation of this forces, because there's a limitation in the flexibility matrix for selecting the unknown force. So we use this stiffness matrix for calculation. Now, in the displacement method of analysis, primary unknowns are joint displacements, wherein commonly referred to as degree of freedom of the structure. It is necessary to consider all the independent degree of freedom while writing the equilibrium equations. These degrees of freedom are specified at supports, joints, and free ends. As we have discussed, the fixed end, the simple support end. What is the degrees of freedom? Degrees of freedom, that is kinematically indeterminate. Degrees of freedom means it is whether the slope is known or this deflection is unknown. So those things you have to point out as the primary unknowns in case of displacement method of analysis. So in the joints, you have to see what are the unknowns. Then you have to try the joint equilibrium to solve the problem. Now let us start after discussing all these things regarding the force method and displacement method. We'll discuss about this slope deflection method. Now, as we have discussed in slope deflection method is a displacement method. So the relations between the moments at the ends of the members and the corresponding rotations and displacements is our importance. Now, the slope deflection method can be used to analyze statically determinate and indeterminate beams and frames. Both can be used. It can be used for statically determined as well as for statically indeterminate. Both beams and frames can be used. In this method, it is assumed that all deformations are due to bending only. So the shear deformation, axial deformation are being neglected. In the force method analysis, compatibility equations are written in terms of unknown reactions. It must be noted that all unknown reactions appear in each of the compatibility equations, making it difficult to solve the resulting equations. So you have to write these compatibility conditions at the joint equilibriums, you have to write, and then you have to solve the problems. Slope deflection equations are not that lengthy in comparison. The basic idea of slope deflection method is to write the equilibrium equation for each node in terms of deflection and rotations. Okay. Once you find the deflection and rotations, then you can find these unknown moments at the joints. Then you can write the joint equilibriums in terms of the slope and deflections. And then you have solved the generalized displacement. So writing the equations, you can solve the displacement. So using moment displacement relationships, moments are then unknown. The structure is then reduced to a determinate structure. So once you find these moments at the joints, as I have discussed in case of the continuous beam, if you know the moments at the both ends, then you can split the structure and find out these unknowns. Let the unknowns can be obtained. So the slope deflection method was originally developed by Heinrich Mandrella and Otto Moore for computing secondary stresses in process. The method is used today presented by Manet in 1915 for analyzing rigid jointed structure. So initially two scientists have developed for the process. Then finally, this Professor Manet was used in 1915 for analyzing rigid jointed structures. This method is used. Let us go to the fundamentals of slope deflection equations. Now, the slope deflection method is so named as it releases the unknown slopes and deflections to the applied loads on a structure. So, if the structure is given to solve, we have to find the unknowns. What are the unknown slopes and deflection in the structure? That's the basics. In order to develop general form of slope deflection equations, we will consider the typical span AB of a continuous beam which is subjected to arbitrary loading and as a constant EI. So the moment of inertia can vary, but you can take initially the EI value, Young's modulus and moment of inertia remaining same, and you take any span of a continuous beam, and there will be end moments MAB and MBA. So in terms of its 3 degrees of freedom, namely angular displacements and linear displacement. So let me let us draw the diagram so that will be easy. So if you take a beam like this way, you have now it will deflect like this way. Okay, suppose one support deflects with respect to other. So now you have the relation, it will be theta 1, theta will come here, and here also there will be theta. Okay, so there will be, if you draw this joint tangent to here, you can find here also theta, and also there will be delta. So theta A, theta B, and delta. Delta is the relative displacement of one node or joint with respect to other joint. So you have to some take sign convention, and then you can find out the values accordingly. Now, if you take internal moments, there will be MAB. So you can find this is A and B. So there will be MAB. This is the moment MAB, and you can find MBA. If you take both clockwise or anti-clockwise, it depends the sign convention again. So there will be moments at both ends, MAB, MBA, and also the degrees of freedom can find the slopes at both ends, and the displacement if they are at different levels, then you can find the displacement. If support sinks, then there will be delta. If support does not sink, the delta is equal to 0. So if they are both at the same level, so there will be no displacements. If they are in the different levels or the support sinks, then there will the value of delta will come into picture. Now the delta value is the relative displacement between the supports. So what the relative displacement between support means? One support is either below or above with respect to another support. That is the relative displacements. Since we will be developing a formula, moments and angular displacement will be considered positive when they act clockwise on the span. So clockwise moments and clockwise rotations we can take positive, and the displacement will be considered positive if the displacement causes the chord of span and the span chord angle rotate clockwise. So if it is rotate, this delta will give a moment that will be considered as the clockwise moment. So there will be moment that will be developed due to this settlement. If that gives this clockwise moment, that is becomes positive. Otherwise, it becomes negative. So this is the sign convention being taken for this calculation of these moments and slopes. The slope deflection equations can be obtained by using principle of superposition by considering separately the moments developed at end supports due to each of the displacements theta A, theta B, and delta, and then the loads. Okay. So what is the principle of superposition? That also you have already studied in the mechanics. That if you are applying the loads to a structure, the any quantity like your bending moments, your force, or your deflection, whatever, find out due to individual loads is equal to the deformation due to the loads acted simultaneously. So that is the principle of superposition. That means let me explain for this. Suppose I want to find a deflection at this center of the span, and I have applied two loads at here and there. Okay. What the deflection at here? So I can calculate the deflection due to this load at this point, then deflection due to this point due to at this point, and I can combine delta 1 plus delta, or I can put simultaneously these two loads and find the value of delta here. In both cases, they will remain same. So principle of superpositions hold goods up to elastic limit. So this, since we are taking the elastic limit within the, we are calculating these values. So the principle of superposition can be applied. So whatever the moments developed due to theta A, if we are applying load, rotation theta at A, theta at B, and delta, then all the moments will combine. That is the final moment at a joint. Suppose I am taking this node, and suppose there is rotation theta A, rotation theta B, and delta. Then what is the moment at this joint at this node? The moment is equal to moment due to theta A, moment due to theta B, and moment due to delta. So these three things can be combined. That will give the moments at this node. So you can calculate independently the value of moments due to application of the rotation theta A, theta B, delta, and then you can find out this total moment due to all these cases. Let us come to the things. So now we'll come to derive this slope deflection equation. How to find out the slope deflection equation. Now we see we are taken a beam A and B, and there's some kind of loading on this structure, maybe this point load and UDL or these bearing loads that will come to structure. Now, if you'll see that now under this load, this will deflect, right? This will deflect. So we are discussing regarding this support A, support B, and B is settled by the amount of delta with respect to A. So now this is the slope deflection curve. Now, if it is the deflection curve, this dotted line. So this line is the deflection curve. Okay, consider that the deflection curve. Now, if that is the deflection curve, then there will be moment here A may B, and there will be moment here MBA, and due to this theta A slope, theta B slope, theta B, I will find out. You have the deflection curve, draw tangent at that point, then that tangent with respect to horizontal will give some angle, that is theta B. Theta B is the slope. So, or you can take the chord of this value, and then you can calculate theta B. So theta A and theta B you can found out. Then delta is the value, L is the span of the things, and become EI is the constant. So positive sign convention is like this. So delta downward is positive, and then theta here clockwise. You said theta A is clockwise, right? It is going clockwise. Here theta B is also going clockwise. Okay, it is measured from this to this deflection curve. So these are all clockwise rotations are positive, downward deflection is positive. So that is a sign convention for all the problems we'll consider in this chapter for slope deflection calculations. So I think now you clear. Now under the loading, there will be deflection of this beam. Now from the deflected slab, you can find out what is the value of the slope and at A and B. Then again, what is the value of the moments? Again, the clockwise moments are positive. Okay, clockwise moments are positive. So with this positive sign convention, clockwise moments positive, clockwise rotations are positive, and then delta downward is positive. So now what we'll do to develop the equation, we'll take three cases. In the first case, due to the loads, what are the moments at the ends, or at the both ends, what are the fixed end moments? Then due to these slopes, theta A, what is the moment at the joint A and joint B? And what is the moment due to theta B? Then what is the moment due to the settlement of B with respect to A? Now all the moments can be added to find out the final moment at the joint A. You get my point? The total moment at point A is equal to the moment due to the external loads plus moment due to the rotation at end A, theta A, then moment due to the rotation at theta B at end B, and settlement of point B with respect to A to calculate the moments. If delta is equal to 0, then put that value is equal to 0. So we are finding a generalized way of finding the moment due to the slope and deflections of a beam. Now let us go to these fixed end moments. So I think you have already studied how to find these fixed end moments for these different kind of loads in analysis 1. Now, if you have the forces, then we have same the clockwise moments are positive. So this is the clockwise moment positive, clockwise moment positive. So if it is anti-clockwise, it will be negative, and here this if it is anti-clockwise, it will be negative. So only clockwise moments are taken positive. Now let us take a case that we have a fixed beam with UDL. So you know for fixed beam with UDL, the moment here is WL square by 12 and here is WL square by 12. Now here the moment is, you see it is anti-clockwise, and here the moment is clockwise. So if you are putting a load on this beam, a fixed beam, if you are taking a fixed beam and put on these loads, then the fixed end moment at end A is equal to WL square by 12, that is minus, and on this end the fixed end moment is equal to plus, that is WL square. Why it is plus, why it is minus? Because we have taken clockwise moments are positive. Here the clockwise moment is coming negative, that is anti-clockwise. If it is clockwise positive and negative, so the fixed end moment at the end A, so fixed moment at AB. Okay, so you can write FMAB or you can write MFAB, fixed end moment at AB. Where the meaning of this is negative, whereas at the end BA it is positive because of the sign conventions. Okay. It is not that randomly you are taking this positive and negative. So this is WL square by 12. This is plus WL square by 12 because both cases you will find the same moment. And this already derived in case of fixed beams last class. So from the sign convention we are getting the fixed end moments due to the applied loads. It is only due to the applied loads what is the fixed end moment at the. So for various kind of application of loads like point loads, moment due to varying loads, due to UDL, a combination of loads, you can find the fixed end moment. Fixed end, first find out fixed end moment due to the applied loads. Now comes, so if it is a point load, similarly, if you are applying a point load, the fixed end moments at AB will be minus WAB square by L square, and at the end BA. So this is A and this is B, right? This is the end A and this is the end B. So MFAB or the fixed end moment at AB is equal to minus PAB square by L square, and BA is equal to plus PA square B by L square. So this is the formula we have derived earlier. So now first find out the moments due to the fixed moment due to applied loads. So next case will come rotations. Now we'll come to the rotations applied. Case B. Now rotations at A, theta A angular displacement. So what is being done here? You can see this figure. Okay. Now what is being done here? Now this is the beam. You apply a rotation theta A. Okay. Rotation theta A. Due to this rotation theta A, there is no other load. Only rotation at A and all other are 0. Rotation at B 0. The displacement with B with respect to 0. What is the moment at point A and B due to this rotation? So if you apply the unit rotation, so your that means your M by, you draw the M by A diagram. So now it is, if the force is MAB, so it will be MAB EI, here will be MBA EI. Okay. Now due to this, the moment here is a maximum and will be 0 here, and this moment will be maximum here and it will be 0 here. Now how will find out? You draw this conjugate beam. If you draw the conjugate form beam, we have keep this end fixed and this end free by putting this moment. So the fixed end becomes free end and the free end becomes free end becomes this simply supported remain as simply supported, and this is the free end. Now due to the this conjugate beam in the conjugate beam method, now this load M by EI diagram becomes load on the structures. You have also been studied the conjugate beam method. So the slope is equal to the shear force and the deflection is equal to bending moment at that section that we have already obtained. Now we'll analyze this to calculate these moments. Now take sigma MA0. If you take sigma MA0, what will happen? Now this force is acting downward and this force is acting upward, MA by EI. So you take moment at A0. So what is the total load here? Half this A may be area of the triangle, half A may be EI into L, and you take moment. So moment it means this is a triangle, and it will be this side will be 1/3, this side 2/3. So multiply by 1/3. Okay, you see half A may be by EI into L is the force, total force. It is L by 3 from the support. Similarly, this will be half MBA by EI into L, and this will be 2/3 from this side, 2/3 from this side for the lowest part. One is acting downward, one is acting positive. So it is clockwise moments, and this is here clockwise. And as you know, the one is positive, one will be negative, because from this side clockwise moment positive, and from this side anti-clockwise moments are positive for the bending moment diagram. So the for bending moment, if it is acting clockwise, that becomes negative, and one will be positive. So now you take this is equal to this, or this minus this is equal to 0. So sigma MA is equal to 0. Similarly, you can find out the MB is equal to 0. If you put moment at B is equal to 0, in addition to these two equations that your loads from MEI diagram, then there will be another things will come, theta into L is equal to 0. Okay, theta into L is equal to 0. So that will give the equation that the value of theta A. So A may be, now if we solve these two equations, you'll find A may be MBA in terms of theta A. So due to the rotation at the end A, the moment at B will be 4 EI by L into theta A, and MBA will be 2 EI L by theta A. So if the moment here is clockwise, this also will be clockwise. They are in the same direction, and the moment is half of this value. Now similarly, if you apply the rotation at B, theta B clockwise, okay, and you'll find these moments will be clockwise, and here will be like anti-clockwise. So now if you put the equations again like the previous problem, you draw these diagrams for the bending moment diagrams and the conjugate beams. So while doing this theta B rotation here, this end is became fixed, and this end remains as usual the hinge support. And if you draw the M by A diagram and solve like the previous problem, you will find MBA will be 4 EIL theta B, and MAB will be 2 EIL theta A. So these are the moments due to the rotations. Now let us see the displacement. So now one point is displaced with respect to other. Now if the node B of the member is displaced relative to A, so that the chord of the member rotates clockwise, positive displacement. So it is a positive displacement. So it is a clockwise moment is required to give this value. Then if it is anti-clockwise, that will be negative. Now the moment M can be related to displacement using the conjugate beam method again. Now here if you are taking displacement here, and one end is fixed, now this will be a free condition. If both end fixed and you are providing delta value here, now if you put here M by EI is the value because of the moment developed, here is M by EI is the value. Okay, and delta is come the value here. So if you try to, this is the real beam, this is the conjugate beam. So in the real beam, you will apply this. You can see both the moments are in the same direction. Moments are in the same direction. So now it is anti-clockwise. So this is anti-clockwise. If you provide anti-clockwise, then it will come to downwards. Now, clockwise, here anti-clockwise is negative, here anti-clockwise moment is positive as far as the bending moment diagram is concerned. So it is m by ei here, here m by ei. So this moment is responsible for this value of delta. Now calculate these values. If you take this equation sigma mb0 and try to solve this problem, you will find out that MAB is equal to MBA is equal to M bending moment, that is minus 6i by delta by L square. So this is important. So 6i delta by L square. Why it is negative? Because it is negative, because negative is due to that the value is anti-clockwise on both sides. It is not clockwise. It's coming anti-clockwise. So the value developed will come is moments. Moments clockwise moment positive, anti-clockwise not bending moment. Don't confuse with the moments and bending moment. Clockwise moments are positive, now it will come negative. So 6i delta by L square is the moment. Now what you find out? Due to rotation is 4ei. Suppose you come to end A. In the end A, what are the values we are getting now? Let us draw these things. Will be clear. At A, what are the values we are getting? One is the fixed end moments due to the loads. Okay, I will find this value. Then plus due to the rotation, we'll find here 4ei L into theta A. Then plus due to theta B, we find here 2EIL by theta B. And again due to this, we find minus 6ei delta by L square. So we find all these moments when a beam is rotated at one end. The rotations are unknowns. You will provide rotations and also the displacements. So it will combine all these values, the total moment at AB. So what is the moment AB in the beam? That means moment at A in the span AB. Moment at A in the span AB. So that is in the fixed end moment plus 4EIL by plus into theta A plus 2EIL into theta B minus 6i by delta L square. If you combine all these things, you take 2EIL is outside. So 2 theta A plus theta B minus 3 delta by L plus the fixed end moment at AB. So this is the slope deflection equation of the resultant moments that we are finding out. Okay. So similarly, you can find the value of BA. MAB you have find out. Similarly, you can find value of BA, that is 2EIL by L into 2 theta B, or theta A plus 2 theta B minus 3 delta by L plus fixed moment BA. So this is very important for you. These two equations are very important, and these are known as the slope deflection equation. For any beam, suppose it is a beam like 3 spans A, B, C, A, B, C, D. Okay. Now for this beam there is some loading. For this beam there is some loading. For this beam there is some loading. So for this beam I can find what is MAB and what is MBA. Okay. Then I can find what is MBC and MCB. So MCD and MDC. So for each span we can find the moment. If we find the moment, then you know for continuity. So the total moment here will be 0. That means what is the equation will be here? The joint equilibrium MBA plus MBC is equal to 0. Okay. And because here this simple supported, I can find MA is equal to 0. And D is equal to simply supported, I can find MD is equal to 0. I can find here MCB plus MCD 0. So like this way, I can find the joint equilibriums to solve the problem. So for each span, you have to calculate using these equations, you have to calculate the values. So that is very important. Now we'll discuss that there are very fixed end moment table. Fixed end moment table means for a end conditions for a load, what the value of fixed ends. Now, if it is a fixed beam with a point load, so we'll find PL by 8 on both sides. Okay, it is anti-clockwise here, clockwise here. And here it will find 3 PL by 16 if it is a propped cantilever. The moment here will be fixed end moment and the fixed end. So if A and B, the value will be different. P by L square, B square plus A square B. If it is add A and B, P B square A by L square, P A square B by L square. So for different type of loadings, the fixed end moments are being given here. Okay. So you can three values. So we can find out 5 PL by 16. We all are P 5 PL by 16. Here it is 45 PL by 96. Similarly, UDL WL square by 12. Here it is WL square by 8. This is a part UDL. You can find the values 12, 5 WL square by 192. Here 11 WL square by 192. This is a triangular load. WL square by 20, WL square by 30. So for different cases, the values are given. And there is delta. So 6i delta by L square, 6i delta by L square. These are anti-clockwise. If it is going upward, then it is clockwise. 6i delta. And for a hinge case, if one end fixed, other end hinged, so the fixed end moment will be 3i delta by L square. If both end fixed, it will be 6i delta by L square. So from this criteria, you can find out these moments. Now we'll find the general procedure for solving the slope deflection method. We have got an idea how to develop these equations, and that formulation we put on these equations to solve the problems. Now the general procedure of slope deflection equation, you find the fixed end moments in each span. As I've told, first find the fixed end moments for loadings. Apply the slope deflection equation on each span. Identify the unknowns. So if you know theta A, theta B, theta C, delta, what are the unknowns? Find the slope deflection equations. If any value is 0, then put that value 0. So if it is fixed end, theta 0, put theta is equal to 0. If there is no relative displacement, put delta is equal to 0. For each span, you find the things. Then come to joint equilibrium. As I've told, if it is simply supported, the total moment is equal to 0. If it is continuous, then the sum of moments from these both sides will be added will be equal to 0. Then solve the equilibrium equation to find the unknown rotations and deflections. But here the unknowns are rotations and deflections, that displacement method. So find the equilibrium equations. Once you determine the find these rotations and deflections, then find the moments at the each end. Once you find the moments, that becomes a determined structure. You can find the shear force, you can find the bending moment diagram. So in a net nutshell, this is the procedure for finding these things. So with this, we are concluding this theoretical introduction to the slope deflection method. Have a good day, and thank you for attending this lecture.